Welcome back inside the lab, everyone, to the latest episode of your daily source for NHL news. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, a little weekend roundup special. New York Rangers going up against the Florida Panthers, and tonight, Game 3 back in Edmonton. Let's get it.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hockey fans, fantasy fanatics, and daily degenerate gamblers, welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. And I'm joined, as always, by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Steele Rodin. And on this side of the microphone, it's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone. Huge, massive shout out to the everydayers holding us down, making us your first listen every single day. It genuinely means the world to both Steele and I with all of you guys' support. Couldn't be doing it without y'all. So we got to show you that love. Also some love for FanDuel. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 wager. That's 150 bones you could be winning with any $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. My friend, my co-host, giddy up, Steele, because look, this past weekend, I don't know about you, but that Sunday game between the New York Rangers and Florida Panthers, 5-4 overtime, take your pick. There is a little bit of everything balled into that entire afternoon. I was fired up for that one, Steele. I think you were as well for obvious betting purposes. Let's talk about that off the jump. We're also going to talk about Stars evening the series over the weekend. Big Game 3 back in Edmonton tonight, Steele. We got some same-game parlays to get going. Over to you as always, my friend, because I know you're going to have some takes. I'm intrigued to listen to what you saw in that game. Lots to get to because also your boy, Lafreniere, starting to break out in a big way. And for fantasy for next season, I'm fired up to see what this guy's going to be drafted at because I think it's going to be much higher.
Absolutely loving what I'm seeing from Alexis Lafreniere right now. And I think everyone knew that it was going to maybe take some time. And I've stated this before. I wasn't really liking the way he was utilized in his first 2 to 3 seasons with the New York Rangers, but Peter Laviolette has gotten the most out of Alexis Lafreniere this season so far, especially now in the playoffs. A huge 2 goals in Game 3. And I mean, they were absolutely beautiful, by the way. So, there's a lot to talk about in Game 3. I got a lot on my mind that I want to talk about. But let's start with Alexis Lafreniere and his fantasy value going into next year. I mean, I was, again, looking at where he was drafted this past season, what his ADP was. He was getting drafted in the 16th round as an ADP. I think that he takes a tremendous upward swing up the draft board. And I was talking about this last night on Twitter with our boy Blake Creamer. I see him at least getting drafted in the 10th round. I could see him going high as the 8th round as well. Sure. But I think the 10th round, the 9th, 10th round is exactly where I would be putting Alexis Lafreniere. And if he falls any less than that, if he falls downward into the 11th or 12th, I think it's an absolute steal. And the reason I have him at the 10th round right now is just because we don't know where he's going to be on the special teams. He only had 6 power play points this past year. 51 of his 57 points came 5-on-5. So he's a dominating presence on even strength hockey. He's bringing the physicality. He blocks shots. He had over 230 shots last year. The peripherals are great. He's getting points right now. And every single season, he's gotten better and better. It's the power play, it's the special teams that worry me, and that's a huge factor in fantasy. But his fantasy value has skyrocketed just this postseason and regular season. 12 points in 13 games or 12 points in 14 games. He's absolutely killing it and scored 2 humongous goals in Game 3 for the New York Rangers.
His deployment coming into next year's training camp will obviously be something that we're keeping a close eye on. How's he looking? What's the vibe around New York? Obviously, how he plays down the stretch here is another thing we're going to be keeping a close eye on because he's looking comfortable, Steele. And you look at his first playoff as a 20-year-old 2 seasons ago. In 20 games played for the Rangers, he only had 30 shots on net. In 13 games played in this postseason as a 22-year-old, he already has 36 shots on net. We know confident players shoot the puck guys who are getting more minutes, get more shots. All of these things are happening with Lafreniere. His minutes are up to over 16 in the postseason. These are all really good indicators of where he's headed. And if you're not buying into the numbers, use the old eye test, because he was all over the ice. He was dangling. He was throwing his body. And I think you made this point to me about Lafreniere when he came up, right? Tore the queue apart. He danced around everyone in the World Juniors. He looked like a man amongst boys. And then we came in with that expectation. And obviously the NHL is a different beast, and that didn't happen. But those goals, Steele, Sunday afternoon, those were the kind of goals that he was pulling off in junior, just making people look stupid. And I hope no one out there does the same with sleeping on his value. He is going to be huge next year. I wrote an article about him 2 weeks ago as a breakout candidate, and then he goes out and he makes me look really good. He's a breakout candidate for sure. What else are you seeing from the Rangers, though? Because I got a couple of stats here that I know it was 5-4, but they may have been a little fortunate to get out of that one that clean, because Igor Shesterkin was massive in the third period and in overtime, Steele. And let me just leave you with this stat. In terms of shot attempts, high danger chances, only 44 shot attempts for the New York Rangers, 108 for the Florida Panthers. And in the third period, high danger chances, 8 for Florida, 1 for New York. But what else were you seeing in there?
Yeah, just first, I mean, the both of Alexis Lafreniere's goals, the backhanders were absolutely beautiful. I mean, they were special goals. So I love the ability to pull that off in the postseason against this Florida team. But yeah, 108 shot attempts to 44 in favor of the Florida Panthers, and they lose back-to-back games in overtime. Alex Wenberg, who literally has not done anything since coming to the New York Rangers at the trade deadline, gets probably the biggest goal of his career so far.
For sure.
5-4 overtime win for the New York Rangers. He was absolutely pumped. And, there's a lot to talk about. We're going to continue this conversation after the break, because I got a lot on my mind from this game.
Okay.
I mean, from the number standpoint and from the overall standpoint of what you just said, 108 shot attempts to 44, it was very lopsided in that way. The really bad penalties on the New York Rangers side of things. Jacob Trouba, we got to talk about the elbow and Evan Rodrigues. I got a lot to say on that, but I mean, he took 3 penalties in this game, and I thought it was a great game 3, but they got very lucky that the Florida Panthers didn't capitalize on the power play more often than they did. I believe they had 6 power plays in this game, 5 or 6 power plays.
6.
Sam Reinhart had 2 power play goals in the first period alone. Yeah. So the fact that they won this game in overtime, they were outshot 108 to 44 in attempts on net. It's outstanding. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing to me, because the fact that the Rangers were able to pull this win off. But again, both teams played great. But I mean, they were just, a lot of stats were lopsided in the favor of Florida.
Most definitely. And look, just actually even, there's now obvious parallels between how the Western Series and Eastern Series are going because of what happens at this time of year. The Edmonton Oilers, and we'll talk about this obviously after the break, same game parlays for tonight, more of this series, all the rest of the week. We got you covered. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, 5-star review. You know the drill. 37 block shots for the New York Rangers. And then you see the Dallas Stars D-men all over the ice blocking shots. So sometimes these things, the intangibles, they mean a lot. And my parallel again to Edmonton, they're not getting enough chances. They're not creating, drawing penalties. And look at what Florida just did. They created 6 power plays for themselves. Were there bad penalties on the Rangers side? For sure. But when you look at creating chances and capitalizing on the man advantage, the Edmonton Oilers aren't able to get it done on the other side. And now everyone's talking about, where's Leon Draisaitl? One game, these guys aren't out. Anyway, we'll get to there. I just wanted to say the New York Rangers blocked 37 shots to the Florida Panthers 14. They go 0-2 on the power play, though, Steele, and they allow 6 man advantages for their opponents. It just goes back to the initial point. This game could have gone very differently. Let's talk a little bit more about it right after the break. As I alluded to, we got bets, and we're going to talk about the Western Conference Final. Of course, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. You know it's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's 150 bones to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. You know those same game parlays. FanDuel's your spot. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Make sure you go hit the subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. And if you're not watching Locked On Sports Today, make sure you go over there and subscribe to their channel as well. You can also find it on the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. They've got the biggest stories of the day without all the screaming from Fox Sports and ESPN. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or, like I said, the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Flip, I got my team. You got your team left in the playoffs right now. Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers. We're going to get over to that series very, very quick, but I want to get your take and your overall opinion on what we've seen so far in this Eastern Conference Finals. I want to talk about the Jacob Trouba elbow on Evan Rodrigues, because I got my opinion on what I've seen so far in this series and what Jacob Trouba did. But what was your take when you saw that clip?
I think initially it looked really dirty. It looked like he went for the head, and maybe he did, but the fact remains for me, Steele, and I watched it now multiple times from multiple angles. I think the referees got it right dialing the penalty back. He didn't make direct contact with his head. Maybe it would have been a dirtier play if he moved forward at like another second or two, and maybe he did make direct contact with his head. I'm not saying that Jacob Trouba isn't a potential guy to do something like that. I just don't think that was the situation. I think he is a much smarter player than people let on. He's a captain for the reason as well. So I'll spit it out. I don't think it ended up dirty. It could have been intended to be, but I think they got the penalty right, taking it down from a 5. I don't know if they were giving him a misconduct there, a game misconduct, but I think that would have been hand in hand. I think they got it right. How about that?
Yeah, I think they got it right as well. And there's a lot to take in, just because I'm going back to game 2 as well. And I look at the hit from Ryan Lomberg on Jimmy Vesey. It was an absolute interference blindside, and almost a headbutt as well. He got filled in, blindsided him, and he got taken out of the game. He was not able to come in. He was not able to return for game 2, and he wasn't in for game 3. He was injured, and it was absolute interference blindside play from Ryan Lomberg. And, I see all this on Twitter, and look, what Jacob Trouba did was not great either. It was very bad of him what he did. He stuck his forearm, he got the elbow in the neck chin area, and he caught Evan Rodrigues. It could have been a lot worse. Both of those plays were bad, but everyone's saying that it should have been a major and he should be suspended. It is not a major. He should not be suspended. I really don't get it, because you look again, people are saying, oh, what Ryan Lomberg did was fine. Like it was an interference. They missed the call, but it's like that in my opinion is a lot worse than what Jacob Trouba did, just on the outcome of what happened, because one player actually got injured and couldn't return to the game. Evan Rodrigues, he went down the tunnel, but he came back next shift and was absolutely unfazed. There actually could have been a little bit of embellishment on that play as well.
You said it, not me, Steele, but hey.
It looked a little bit like it, which we've seen a lot in the Western Conference Finals with the Dallas Stars and Edmonton Oilers, and throughout the entire playoffs, we've seen a lot of embellishment and heads thrown back. I want to finish off by saying this: I have not really been a fan of this officiating in the Eastern Conference Finals.
It's been bad,
because you go back to game 1. There was a play that was blown dead because they thought Sergei Bobrovsky was injured, but he thought he had the puck, and it bounced over to Mika Zibanejad. Play gets blown dead. Play gets blown dead again on a 4-on-2 opportunity for the Rangers because Sam Reinhart went down, and they thought he was injured. The reffing seems to be again. I don't know. This is a conspiracy theory at this point, but
here we go.
The officiating seems to be going against the New York Rangers multiple times now.
It's easy to see that, Steele, when you got as much money invested in it.
Yes, it is. It is very
However,
to see that, but
you.
I'm just saying the fact that the whistle is being blown dead on multiple occasions against the New York Rangers just seems mind-boggling to me. So I had to put that out there. But I mean, I think they got the right call. It's not a major. It's not a suspension. 2-minute minor. They got the right call.
Rangers win a 4th OT game in this postseason. They're a resilient bunch, Steele, that's for sure. And I just also need to give the Florida Panthers some credit because that could have been them taking that game and taking the series lead. However, that's how it goes down. At the end of May and into June, you have to get a little bit lucky at some point as well. Shesterkin saves their bacon. To say how good he was in that game for a goalie who let in 4 goals, he just kind of turned it around in the third period. All those high danger chances, he was there when he needed him to be. One last comment on this deal before we move on is what Vincent Trocheck said about Shesterkin. When you have the confidence in your goaltender behind you, to bail you out if you do make a mistake. And I love this quote from him. You don't want to make them, but they're going to happen. And when you have a guy like that back there, you're confident that the next play, you're going to get it back. So that's massive, obviously. And they're feeling that confidence right now. The New York Rangers have the opportunity for a stranglehold on the series. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's episode, of course. Western Conference Finals, Steele. I got my same game parlay already here cooked, ready to go on the screen. Got some nice odds. We'll get there. However, I alluded to game 2. No Leon Draisaitl points. No Connor McDavid points. They had 5 combined shots between Hyman, Draisaitl, and McDavid, and they were a combined -2. I know it's only one game, but the third line on Edmonton is so bad right now. And when no offense to Fogels of the world and whoever else, like the Holloways of the world, when you're going up against the third line of the Dallas Stars, it's going to start exposing you. I don't know what you think about that take, but that third line in Edmonton, if the big boys don't go, the Edmonton Oilers aren't going to win this series.
Yeah, there needs to be a lot more depth scoring from the Edmonton Oilers standpoint of view. I mean, we've seen Evan Bouchard carry games. We've seen Connor McDavid carry games. Zach Hyman, Leon Draisaitl, Stuart Skinner, great in game 1 as well in this Western Conference Finals, and especially with Rupe Hintz and Fasca out of the lineup for game 2. The Edmonton Oilers, again, like the Vegas Golden Knights did in the first round series, had a chance to go up 2-0 2-0 on the road against the Dallas Stars, and obviously they'd lose that game 3-1. Stuart Skinner played great. Jake Ottinger played a lot better. There was an empty net goal as well, but this is the type of series we're going to get. If we can get goaltending from Stuart Skinner, we're going to get some low-scoring games, and we're going to see a lot of shutdown defensemen like Chris Tanev has done all postseason long, like Miro Heiskanen has done all postseason long. They have been absolutely killing it out there. You really need Darnell Nurse to step up for you, for the Edmonton Oilers perspective. There's a lot going on right now, but we're getting a goalie show out from both Stuart Skinner and Jake Ottinger. So that's my takeaway. And look, it's just one game. We've seen it happen for multiple teams right now. Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, they go pointless. It's fine. It's just one game. They're going back to Edmonton. They're bouncing back in a big way. Again, we're seeing the goalie standout right now in both Jake Ottinger and Stuart Skinner. So that's really my takeaway, but you are absolutely correct. The bottom 6, the depth scoring from Edmonton, if they don't start producing, even again, you don't need to be on the score sheet to produce and make a difference in the game. Make a difference some other way. It's possible to do, but they still got to get they got to get some players on the score sheet because this defenseman and Jake Ottinger and Chris Tanev, they're shutting them down right now.
Dallas Stars blocked me in the block shot stats again here, Steele. Dallas Stars blocked 22 shots to Edmonton's 9 as well. They are playing the brand of hockey. And again, sounds like a broken record. This isn't not to say the Edmonton Oilers aren't doing this, but the Stars are sacrificing their body. Yes, you saw the comments from Matty Duchesne. They want to win it for everyone in the room. Pete DeBoer's got these guys really cooking. What I saw from Knobloch this year, Steele, was impressive. But he showed that he was a rookie coach there with that goalie pull of Stuart Skinner. His team didn't know what was going on. They pull him immediately. Evander Kane has to look around and go, I got to skate this bad boy in. And the other 2 forwards peeled off for a change. You don't pull your goalie and dump the puck in and peel your forwards off. You got to get that puck in deep, and you got to press every man in there. And Stuart Skinner's gets pulled. So Chris Knobloch got outcoached by Pete DeBoer. I wanted to say that, number 1. And if that happens again, you know how I feel about Dallas, and I might be a bit biased. Edmonton's cooked. So, and again, I know it's just one game. I'm just going to say it. They need to be a lot better offensively. And here's a stat for you. in the first 30 attempts in the postseason, their first 9 games on the power play, Steele, 14 conversions for a 46.6% clip. In the last 5 games, 13 chances, 1 goal for a 7% clip. That's not going to be nearly good enough, obviously. And they are going to need to, I don't know how, it's easier said than done, of course. They're going to need to get physical. That's how I think they're going to have to turn this tide. Run some guys. Create a little bit of bee in the other team's bonnet so they take some penalties. Because right now, Dallas is like zen. Jake Ottinger's getting comfortable. And then when you have Tanev, Lindell, and Heiskanen on the back end doing their thing and shutting things down, I don't think I need to paint this picture any clearer for you, Steele. Any team in the NHL is going to have a hard time going up against the depth of this Dallas Stars team.
It's been an absolute whirlwind of a playoffs, but these conference finals in both West and Eastern conferences has been such a treat so far. And we're only 2-3 games in right now. We're going to try to turn things around with our big time bets after the break. We're going to continue this conversation as well. We are going to get to big time bets in this episode very, very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
But we got to thank you out there so much, everyone, all our daily listeners tuning in to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, making it your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. Flip and I appreciate all that love and support you show us Monday through Friday. Continue showing us that love through the playoffs, through the offseason, through the summer. We're going to be continuing to submit our content. We're going to get down to 12 episodes in July and August, or just August. We'll get down to 17 in July, but we're going to continue the content through the offseason and obviously through the playoffs. But we got to show the love to all of our listeners out there because you are the true heroes out there, the true supporters of us, and we really
real
appreciate
MVP.
it. The real MVP of the podcast right now. So thank you so much for all that love. Flip, continuing the conversation of this Western Conference Finals. You know, we are going to get to big time bets very, very quickly. But I mean, going into game 3 right now, going back home, you're tied up 1-1. You know, I don't know what the word is on Rupe Hintz, if he's going to be back for game 3. Have you heard anything out there about what his status is right now? Okay, you got something. Let's talk about that.
That's like synergy, baby. I just was going to say a little update on Rupe Hintz. And Pete DeBoer has obviously been asked about him regularly. Hintz had a little bit of a polarizing fantasy season. You know, there was a lot of expectations. We've talked about this at length. He had a big postseason last year. His value went up a little bit. A lot of people were reading into Hintz for a big, big year. He regressed. So fantasy-wise, he was a bit polarizing, but this guy is one of their best forwards. He plays a 200-foot game. Pete DeBoer is talking about how important he is on the defensive end. And once again, if he comes in there and then you push Tyler Seguin back out to the wing, this is just the pieces that DeBoer gets to plug and play. And Knoblauch doesn't have all of those. So if he continues to push the right buttons, you know, he's missed the last 4 games. I'll spit out the update. He's traveled with the team to Edmonton, and Pete DeBoer, quote, he's looking a lot better, and he is now a game-time decision. He's been clearly out the last number of games, so it sounds like he is very, very close. And I'm not going to come out here and say Rupe Hintz is in the lineup, and that's like a be-all and end-all of anything. It's just, once again, another little confidence boost, Steele, another little bit of good mojo for a team that already has a ton of it working. They're a really good road team. The Edmonton Oilers need to play the best game of their season tonight, because if the Dallas Stars go up 3-1, Steele, this isn't rocket science. That's going to be a mountain that the Edmonton Oilers cannot climb. Not with Stuart Skinner, not unless he steals a game.
Yeah, but he's been playing absolutely fantastic. Even with
he
the
deserves
loss
some credit.
Game 2,
he has really played better.
Credit because he has turned it around in this Western Conference Finals from what we saw in the second round series with Edmonton and the Vancouver Canucks. So a lot better performance from him. Obviously, he's going to have to perform better than Jake Ottinger, and we're going to have to perform better with some of our big-time bets, especially me, because I have been losing it a little bit. Unlike you, you've been killing it. So over to you, my friend.
Okay.
Same game parlay, Dallas Stars, Edmonton Oilers. What you looking at?
Hey, I'm not backing off the Dallas Stars now, Steele. However, I'll make the obvious point. look at how these games are going, aside from that absolute 5-4 craziness on Sunday, which cooked one of my parlays. That was the only thing I had wrong. I even had that game going to OT in the parlay, which, by the way, nice pick for you. 2 OT games coming up in this series as well. That was a nice one. Little series best bet. Under 6.5. I'm teasing it up. I'm scared now because of that. I'm scared of that barn burner on Sunday. Got me backed off the 5.5. So under 6.5 with the Dallas Stars on the money line and my lock of the night, Miro Heiskanen, has been absolutely sensational. He is proving that he is up there in that top tier of elite defensemen. You and I haven't had that conversation yet about how we would rank them. I think it's still clear it's Cale Makar's title for now, but Miro Heiskanen is proving his worth. And next year, if you sleep on him for a big fantasy year, speaking of breakouts, that would be a mistake. So Miro Heiskanen, anytime point, lock of the night, Steele. You put those 3 together, you're getting a plus 400 odd payout. That is a really juicy odd. Obviously, the Dallas Stars, I think, is the riskiest on those of the 3. So if you really want to chicken out under 6.5, hit it with Heiskanen and thank me later. But I'm really liking my lock of the night. And I think the Dallas Stars, unlike the Edmonton Oilers, who missed their opportunity to go up 2-0 on the road, I don't think the Dallas Stars are going to – you're going to see a very close game is what I was trying to spit out here. So I'm going to go Stars money line under 6.5 and Heiskanen anytime point.
I like the under 6.5. I like the Heiskanen anytime point. I am also – my first pick is also the under 6.5. So I'm also teeing it up to under 6.5.
Yep.
The under 5.5 is at minus 102 right now, but you're getting minus 162 for under 6.5. So it's not that worse of an odd. So I'm going to tee it up just like you to under 6.5. My second pick is going to be Oilers money line at minus 130. I think that game 3, they go up 2-1. Next side bet for sure.
I like it.
I like these 2 picks, especially teeing it up to under 6.5. And then my lock of the night, McDavid anytime goal at plus 145. I've seen a lot of people saying that he needs to shoot the puck more. He has 37 shots in 12 or 13 games right now, or however many games Edmonton's played. It's not about shooting the puck more, because I think he's shooting the puck a ton. It's just actually bearing and capitalizing on those opportunities. So for me, I think McDavid, again, after going pointless in game 2, he's going to come out in a big way. I think he is going to start shooting the puck a little bit more. So my lock of the night, McDavid anytime goal at plus 145. That's going to give you an odd. Let me just get this up. That's going to give you an odd of plus 526.
Juicy.
I like the juice right now. And then just an honorable mention for a guy who I think is also going to maybe get on the score sheet.
I love when you do honorable mentions. Hit me.
And honorable mention, Jason Robertson, anytime goal. That's going to bump it up to plus 5,026. So the odds are going to go up tremendously. So I like the under 6.5, Oilers money line, McDavid anytime goal. Those are my 3 picks in the same game parlay.
Steele, if I wasn't so harshly and seriously invested into this Dallas Stars team, I would also maybe slap in the Connor McDavid anytime goal, because I think you're going to see a very big response from 97. That's not a bold take. He needs to respond, and I think he will do that. I would take that as well, but I'm just a little bit too into the Dallas Stars side of things, so I ain't hedging no bets. I'm going Stars, baby, but that's another side bet for you and I. This is going to be an amazing game tonight.
Game 3, Dallas Stars, Edmonton Oilers back in Edmonton. Can't wait for it. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Once again, make sure you go check out Locked On Sports today. They've launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. You can also find it on the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And Flip and I are part of your team every single day, the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. So thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day out there. Good luck with your bets tonight, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.